Good morning, Barry Bryson here. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. Today, we're going to look at the book of the Bible that uses the word agape more frequently, and and percentage-wise more than any other book of the Bible, if we're counting those books of the Bible that have been written or translated into Greek. In the book of the Bible, if you think of the Septuagint, the Greek Old Testament instead of the Hebrew Old Testament. The book of the Bible that uses the word agape more than any other is the Song of Solomon. Um, like the book of Ruth, Song of Solomon it's not like anything else in ancient literature, and it's not really like anything else in human literature, because it is written between a couple, a man and a woman, who are exclusively each other's. My beloved is mine and I am his. That's the refrain throughout the book. They are exclusively each other's. They are engaged, married, newly married, both. Um, Maybe this is written across that, but these are young people who are covenanted to each other in a marriage bond and who are newly in love with each other. And it's not like anything else, any that has ever been written. Um, we talked about how in the book of Ruth, we see what we would call philia, but it's really an expression of agape. And in the relationship between David and Jonathan, we really see storge, but it is we see what we would call storge, but it's really an expression of agape. And in the Hebrew Old Testament, the word eros is reserved for prostitution. But when we talk about eros in English, um, we associate it with um, the answering of the sexual impulse, the physical impulse, the physical urge that a man and a woman have for each other, and that's what this book is about. It's about that, but it's not eros. It's really an expression of agape, because this is one man and one woman who are covenanted to each other in a permanent bond. I don't think Solomon wrote Song of Solomon. I think it was dedicated to him. I don't think Solomon, um, he certainly did not have an exclusive pair bond with a woman, because he had 1,000 women. He had 700 wives and 300 concubines. I don't think this is about him. I think it's dedicated to him. Um, it's unique in that it's really a love letters back and forth and diary entries about this relationship between this man and this woman who are besotted with each other. They are in the early days of love, in which they are pheromonically, physically intoxicated with each other. And we have their statements back and forth. She speaks twice as much as he does. So there are those two voices. There's also a chorus of women, like there is in the book of Ruth. There's a chorus of women who make their own comments, and sometimes it's difficult to distinguish who's doing the talking. But but generally speaking, she speaks twice as much as he does. She uses the word agape twice as much as he does. She talks about everything that she's experiencing, the things that she's experiencing physically, emotionally, and spiritually. He basically mostly talks about the way she looks and describes her body parts, and he's intoxicated by every bit of her. How beautiful are your feet in sandals, he says. He also says something in chapter 6, verse 15, that is telling, and that any man will recognize when he realizes that the woman he loves him intensely. And he says, "Turn your gaze away from me, because you're overwhelming me." I can't, I'm getting sensory overload. Just the way I feel about you, and then when you express the way you feel about me back, it's overloading my brain circuitry. I need you to look away. It's it's like we're reading someone else's diary. It's like someone has left their curtains not closed, and the lights are on at night. It's just, and we're given access to this. And throughout, what they feel for each other and what they're expressing, as physical as it is agape. And agape begins and ends the book. And agape, you can't go 5 verses without agape in some form in this book. It is a book that is drenched with agape, as it is drenched with this intense passion these two people have for each other. I mean, it opens this way: may he kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, and then she speaks to him directly. For your agape is better than wine. And so immediately we're told this is a very physically passionate book, but it's also a book about agape love that a man and a woman are supposed to have for each other. And we should not be surprised at this. The New Testament and the Old Testament make clear that a marital relationship is supposed to be a permanent and exclusive bond. That's true from creation, and it is a sexual bond. And both Old and New Testament make clear that this is supposed to be one of the ways one of the main ways a husband and wife maintain their pair bond together. The Apostle Paul will say in First Corinthians, 7, that a husband and wife are not supposed to separate from each other except for a brief period of time, and then only for prayer. He says the husband's body is not his own, but his wife's. The wife's body is not her own, but her husband's. Um, the marriage bed is sacred and not defiled. The writer of Hebrews will say in Hebrews chapter 15. Um, and how necessary is it for us to see the way it is supposed to be? Do we get it anywhere else? No, we don't. Um, there's not a culture on earth that has a healthy attitude about sex the way God intended it to be. He intended this, but this between one man and one woman who feel this way about each other. That's why this is such a necessary book, and that's why it is necessary that the word agape is used and not the word eros, because it is about agape. It's exactly what it is about. Agape can express itself in many ways. We've seen it expressed as philia, we've seen it expressed as storge, and here we see it expressed as eros, at least the way we would use that word. I want to conclude with kind of the closing thought of the book of the Song of Solomon from chapter 8, and I'm going to read verses 6 and 7. Put me like a seal over your heart, like a seal on your arm, for love is as strong as death. Jealousy is severe as the grave. Its flashes are flashes of fire, the very flame of Yahweh. Many waters cannot quench agape, nor will rivers overflow it. If a man were to give all the riches of his house for agape, it would be utterly despised. Of course, this book is about agape, and these words are exactly true about agape, especially the agape love that one man and one woman are supposed to share as they share a pair bond for their entire lives once they make their covenant to each other. Okay, well, we're going to talk about our love for God and God's love for us, and how that is described as agape in the Old Testament in the next 2 sessions, and that will end this brief study. I hope you're enjoying it. We'll pick up there next time.